March in New York still brought a chill in the air, but the sunlight already carried a promise of spring. Eleanor Vance, at 43, felt her life was at its peak. She was a respected Wing Chun martial artist, owning her own dojo, where she taught not only techniques, but also the philosophy of balance and inner strength. Her life was built on discipline, sincerity, and an unwavering belief in traditional values. And now, she was about to marry David Sterling, a talented architect, to whom she had entrusted her whole heart. The night before the big day, as crimson rose petals adorned the floor and her pristine white wedding dress shimmered under the lights, Eleanor entered David's study to find the wedding ring he had asked her to hold. Her heart fluttered with a sweet mix of anticipation and excitement. But as the door slightly opened, the scene inside shattered all illusions. David, her fiancé, was embracing Catherine, her stepsister whom Eleanor had taken in after their parents passed away. Their bodies intertwined, their whispered, suggestive words echoing in the silent room. Eleanor stood frozen, feeling as if an icy sword had pierced her chest. It wasn't physical pain, but the shattering of trust, of love, of an entire future she had meticulously built. Catherine's voice, sweet and deceitful, resonated in her ears. "Darling, soon we'll have everything. Eleanor's everything will be ours." David only responded with a deep kiss. Everything collapsed in an instant. Eleanor retreated, her eyes stinging but not a single tear falling. She didn't want them to know she had witnessed this disgusting charade. The next morning, Eleanor canceled the wedding. No explanation, no accusations. She simply vanished. David and Catherine, looking surprised and anxious, tried to contact her, but she had cut all ties. The betrayal wasn't just about love, but also financial deceit. She had trusted David with a portion of her assets to invest in a joint project. Now, everything was in ruins, not only materially, but also emotionally. New York City suddenly felt suffocating, its towering skyscrapers seemingly pressing down on her chest. Eleanor felt the need to escape, to find a distant place where no one knew her, where she could confront herself and heal her wounds. She recalled an old article about the world's most serene resorts. An image flashed in her mind, a luxurious resort nestled beside a large lake, surrounded by majestic green mountains, with a brilliant sunset reflecting on the water like a watercolor painting. It was Peaceful Paradise on the outskirts of Charlotte, North Carolina, a quiet place she never thought she would visit. She booked a round-trip plane ticket, then changed it to a one-way. The decision was made. There was no turning back. Eleanor left carrying a broken heart and a suitcase containing the remaining fragments of her life. The long flight finally landed. Charlotte greeted Eleanor with a mild afternoon. As the car took her to Peaceful Paradise, the scenery outside the window gradually changed. Skyscrapers disappeared, replaced by winding roads through lush green forests. Then suddenly, a breathtaking view unfolded. The resort nestled beside a vast lake, its surface calm as a mirror, reflecting the clear blue sky and distant mountain ranges. The architecture of the resort blended classic European style with the surrounding natural beauty. Manicured green lawns stretched out, and colorful flower beds bloomed. As Eleanor stepped into the lobby, the gentle scent of pine wood and lilies diffused, bringing an unusual sense of tranquility. Her room was on the highest floor, with a spacious balcony directly overlooking the lake. Every morning, Eleanor was mesmerized by the sunrise. The first golden rays of sunlight began to filter through the distant mountain peaks, painting the sky pink before slowly spreading across the lake's surface, creating shimmering golden streaks. Gentle ripples softly lapped against the shore, bringing a soothing sound like music for the soul. Eleanor often sat by the window, enjoying a finely brewed hot cup of coffee, gazing at the ethereal scene. On the table next to the window, a vase of pristine white chrysanthemums, their delicate petals full of life, served as a reminder of the pure beauty that still remained in life. Eleanor spent the first few days completely relaxing. She strolled around the resort, exploring small stone paths and charming gardens. She found a quiet spot by the lake, a small lawn, and began practicing Wing Chun. Her graceful, decisive, yet fluid movements helped her relieve tension and reconnect with her body. Each strike, each movement was a way for her to confront her pain, to transform it into strength. She felt a sliver of peace seep into her heart, even though the wound still lingered. One afternoon, as the sunlight began to soften, casting an orange-gold hue on the lake, Eleanor was walking along the shore. She saw a boy, about 6 or 7 years old, playing alone near the water's edge. He had large, intelligent eyes, but they carried a deep sadness. In his hand was a small wooden toy boat, old but carefully preserved. Eleanor recognized him as Lucas, the resort owner's nephew whom she had heard staff mention, a poor boy who had recently lost his mother in an accident. Lucas was engrossed in pushing his boat in the shallow water, but a sudden gentle gust of wind pushed the boat further out. The boy tried to reach for it, but lost his balance and slipped into the lake. The lake in this area was quite deep and cold, and Lucas seemed unable to swim. He struggled in panic, his calls for help faint. Eleanor, without a second's hesitation, plunged into the water. With the skills of a martial artist, she moved swiftly and decisively. In just a few moments, she reached Lucas, pulling him out of the water. The boy coughed violently, shivering from cold and fear, but his eyes looked at Eleanor with profound gratitude. Just then, a middle-aged man rushed over, breathless. It was Robert Sterling, the owner of Peaceful Paradise, and Lucas's uncle. His face was pale with fear, his eyes clearly panicked. He quickly hugged Lucas, checking if the boy was hurt, then looked at Eleanor with undisguised appreciation. You saved my nephew," Robert said, his voice trembling. "I don't know how to thank you." Eleanor nodded gently, drenched but still composed. "It's nothing, Mr. Robert. It's good that the boy is all right." From that moment, an invisible thread began to connect the three strangers. After the incident, Robert often sought ways to express his gratitude to Eleanor. He invited her to dinner, took her on tours of the resort's beautiful hidden corners that few tourists knew about. Eleanor found Robert to be a refined, thoughtful, and profound man. He carried a hidden sadness in his eyes, the sadness of someone who had recently experienced a great loss. Gradually, they began to share stories and deep feelings with each other. Robert told Eleanor about his late wife, Sarah, who had passed away in a tragic car accident just a few months prior. Lucas, his nephew, was also in the car at the time. The shock caused Lucas psychological trauma, making him withdrawn, introverted, and frequently experiencing nightmares. Robert felt helpless watching his nephew suffer. Eleanor listened genuinely. She didn't need to say much. Her presence, the understanding in her eyes, was enough to comfort Robert. Then it was Eleanor's turn to share her story about the betrayal and pain she had endured. Robert was astonished by Eleanor's strength and resilience. He felt a strong empathy, as if they were two lost souls finding each other in the sea of life. Eleanor began to spend more time with Lucas. She didn't try to force him to talk. Instead, she used gentle methods to approach him. She taught Lucas simple breathing exercises from Wing Chun, helping him calm down. She told him fairy tales about brave knights and thrilling adventures. She and the boy collected colorful dried leaves, and together they arranged pebbles into funny shapes by the lake. Lucas was initially reserved, but gradually he began to open up. His eyes sparkled again and rare smiles appeared on his lips. One afternoon, Lucas handed Eleanor his wooden toy boat. "Miss, my mom made it for me," he whispered, his voice still hesitant but more natural. Eleanor smiled, knowing she had touched the boy's heart. The days at Peaceful Paradise passed like a beautiful dream. Eleanor realized she was no longer haunted by the past. The pain was still there, but it no longer weighed her down. She began to see the simple beauty of life. Early morning. Eleanor often woke up early, walking along the misty path. The faint mist hung over the green lawns, creating an ethereal scene. Dewdrops still clung to the petals of flowers, sparkling like tiny diamonds. The scent of damp earth, plants, and wildflowers diffused in the fresh air, awakening all her senses. Midday. Bright golden sunlight pierced through the palm trees and ancient trees in the resort's tropical garden, creating shimmering streaks of light on the clear blue pool water. The chirping of birds, the rustling of wind through bamboo groves, all created a soothing symphony of nature. Eleanor often sat reading under the shade of a tree, feeling peace seep into every cell. Sunset. This was her favorite moment. The sunset descended, painting the sky and the lake pink. Clouds drifted lazily, changing colors from orange to purple, then gradually fading into darkness. Twinkling lights from lakeside houses and anchored boats began to illuminate, creating a magical, shimmering picture. Robert and Eleanor often sat with Lucas on the porch, watching this scene, sharing stories and quiet dreams. They enjoyed cozy meals together at the resort's restaurant, where talented chefs prepared fresh local dishes. Gentle music and flickering candlelight created a romantic yet intimate atmosphere. Eleanor gradually realized that her feelings for Robert were not just empathy, but something deeper, a gentle yet firm love built on understanding and sharing. The same was true for Robert. He found in Eleanor the peace he had lost for so long. Lucas, with his radiant smiles and innocent words, became a strong connection between them. One morning, during a cozy breakfast, Robert suggested, "Eleanor, Lucas, and I are planning a short trip to Mont Saint-Michel in France. I think it's a special place. Lucas will love it. Would you like to come with us?" Eleanor was surprised. Mont Saint-Michel, an ancient abbey on a rocky island in the sea, was a place she had always dreamed of visiting. She smiled and nodded. "I'd love to." The trip to Mont Saint-Michel was a meaningful adventure. From afar, the image of the abbey standing majestically in the sea, with its towers and arches reaching towards the sky, looked truly grand and ancient. When they arrived at sunset, the golden-orange light of the sun shone on the stone walls, creating a magnificent beauty, like a fairy tale castle. They walked together up the winding, steep paths, exploring every nook and cranny of the abbey. Lucas ran everywhere, his eyes sparkling with curiosity. Eleanor and Robert held hands, feeling peace and happiness seep into every cell. They didn't need flowery words, just each other's presence was enough. Eleanor felt a strong rebirth in her soul. She had faced her fears, her wounds, and now she was walking on the path of healing with the people she loved. One evening, as they were admiring Mont Saint-Michel shimmering with lights under the starry sky, Lucas suddenly hugged Eleanor. "Miss Eleanor, please stay with me and Uncle Robert," the boy said, his voice filled with earnestness. Eleanor looked at Robert, his eyes also full of hope. She bent down and hugged Lucas, tears streaming down her cheeks. "I'll stay, Lucas," she whispered. Upon returning to peaceful paradise, Eleanor and Robert had a heartfelt conversation. Robert expressed his feelings for her, not a fiery, passionate love, but a gentle, deep love based on understanding and sharing. "I know you've been through a lot of pain," Robert said, holding Eleanor's hand, "but I believe we can build a new future together, a new family where there is love and peace." Eleanor felt the sincerity in Robert's words. She had found a peaceful harbor, a place where she could be herself, where she was loved and cherished. She no longer needed apologies from David or Catherine. The pain of the past had now become a part of her, helping her grow and become stronger. Their life at Peaceful Paradise began a new chapter. Eleanor continued her martial arts practice, but now she had a new small student, Lucas. The boy enjoyed the gentle movements, and Eleanor noticed significant progress not only in his physical health, but also in his spirit. Robert continued to manage the resort. He and Eleanor together planned to turn it into a healing center, not only for those seeking relaxation, but also for souls needing solace. They spent their days together, simple but full of happiness. In the mornings, they had breakfast together on the balcony, watching the brilliant sunrise over the lake. Eleanor, Robert, and Lucas tended to the resort's lush tropical garden, where palm trees reached for the sun, vibrant tropical flowers bloomed, and a stream gurgled over natural rocks. Lucas loved to play in the clear water, and Eleanor often sat beside him, reading while Robert worked. In the evenings, they read together, cooked simple but cozy meals together. Lucas's clear laughter, Robert's stories about life, and Eleanor's understanding gazes filled their home with warmth. They didn't need a luxurious life. They only needed each other and the peace of peaceful paradise.